Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a field that studies one of the most powerful forces shaping our modern lives, the internet.
So let's just start with a question for you. Think about how you communicate, how you shop, how you even think. How much of that has been shaped by your time online?
And you're not alone in this. A staggering 58% of the world's population uses the internet, which is basically creating a giant global experiment in human behavior.
This massive transformation has given rise to a really fascinating and, frankly, a crucial new field of study.
It's called cyberpsychology. And okay, that definition sounds a bit academic, but it's really the science of how technology interacts with our minds and our behavior. It's about understanding us, but online. Now, what's really interesting is how this gets to the core of why we sometimes feel like a totally different person when we're online. Have you ever felt that?
Well, psychologists actually have a term for this. It's called the online disinhibition effect. It's where things like anonymity and not having to look someone in the eye, they make us a lot bolder than we'd ever be face to face.
And this comparison just illustrates that split perfectly, doesn't it? It explains everything, from those really heartfelt personal confessions you see in forums, all the way to those furious, no-holds-barred comment section arguments. It also turns out our core personality traits are really strong predictors of our online habits. For instance, studies show that extroverts, they tend to use social media and messaging apps way more frequently than introverts.
And then there's the other side of the coin. Research also finds these clear links between darker personality traits and specific online behaviors, like narcissism being connected to a much higher number of selfies and a lot more photo editing.
But this disinhibition effect, it has a very serious dark side. Look at this number. 59% of U.S. teens report being bullied or harassed online. That's a huge number.
So the crucial point is that the consequences are very, very real. We're talking about studies linking this kind of online victimization to anxiety, depression, and serious problems at school. What happens online definitely does not stay online.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. Because technology isn't just a space where we live, it's also an incredibly powerful tool that can either help or hinder our well-being.
Social media is a perfect example of this duality. On one hand, it can be a source of absolutely vital social support. But on the other, studies also show a really clear link between high usage and increased symptoms of depression.
And then you have the whole debate over violent video games, which is really complex. While some studies do find a small link to aggressive thoughts, that connection to actual real-world violent crime, it's just not established.
But technology is also absolutely revolutionizing healthcare, particularly mental health, through something called telepsychology.
This is basically the practice of providing psychological services remotely. And what's amazing is that studies are showing it can be just as effective as traditional face-to-face therapy for a whole range of issues.
And taking this a step even further is virtual reality. VR creates these incredibly simulated environments that our brains, well, they perceive them as real. We respond as if they were actually happening.
This allows for something called virtual reality exposure therapy, which is an unbelievably powerful tool. It lets people confront their fears, spiders, heights, even trauma from combat in a completely controlled, safe setting. And the results are incredible.
So all of these powerful tools, they bring us to probably the most important part of our explainer today, the profound ethical questions that we absolutely have to face.
Think about it. All of your online activity, your likes, your searches, your posts, it leaves a digital footprint. And that footprint can be used to accurately predict your personality traits, your political views, even your intelligence.
And what happens when we use that data to make critical decisions? Well, studies have found that some algorithms used in things like predictive policing can be deeply biased, misidentifying defendants based on their race.
This right here, this is why experts are calling for psychologists and engineers and lawmakers to all work together. We have to create new ethical guidelines for a world that has just completely outpaced our old rules.
Which leaves us with a final, critical question to consider as we get ready to log off today. As our technology gets smarter and smarter, how do we make sure that we stay wise?